something I've been thinking about recently is this idea of the power or the lack of power of blame, the power that blame has when it comes down to leadership.
Okay.
All too often, we hire employees as business owners. We hire employees, and we play the blame game. Whenever anything goes wrong, it's not my fault, it's something else. Oh, I couldn't complete my task because I didn't have the time. Or I couldn't complete my task because Steve was on the computer. Or
my dog
customers,
ate it.
My dog ate it, right? and so this is something that actually I became aware of when we were at a party and little kids were running around and somebody went, "Oh, watch out!" And I said, "What's the matter?" "Oh, well, that stupid kid is just in between everybody's feet." And I thought, isn't this interesting that an adult would blame a child for almost tripping?
Yeah.
Right? So where is our awareness? Right? Yeah. And another perfect example of the blame game is, when people get speeding tickets.
Oh, yes.
All too often, I went to this corner and this community and I got a ticket and they should go out and they should do other things.
Yeah, that's right.
You got a ticket because you were speeding.
Yeah.
So I have a theory that as leaders, we do ourselves a great disservice when it comes down to blaming.
Okay.
When we blame anybody but ourselves, we disempower our leadership role.
Yes.
If we are sitting with staff and talking about something and we decide to blame other employees, or we decide to blame other fractions or stakeholders for a situation, we do ourselves a disservice because what we're essentially saying is we're not in control.
Yeah.
We have no say.
I've heard that from many people where they say you should actually look in a mirror at that point and realize that you didn't put the proper methodologies in place or proper training for those people in order to make sure that that situation never occurred in the first place, or maybe they weren't empowered to make a decision, or they were too afraid of being
Peg the bad guy
and I was wrong and I'm sorry and I'm going to lose my job. And those are the situations I've heard many times of don't blame, but rather look at it as a situation of, it's kind of like parenting.
Funnily enough, I think it starts from parenting. It starts, like I remember, my brother, I must have been probably about 5 or 6. It was probably one of the earliest memories I had where my brother was just sitting there and I decided to whack him over the back of the head. Now I was the angel in the house. So when my parents came down and I took it one step further because of course I was not only the good kid in the family, but I was also the one with the most evil streak. And so I would whack him in the back of the head. Then I'd sit on the couch and scream. And then my mother would come down, and then my brother would go, "I didn't do it, he did it." And of course, my mother wouldn't believe him. But we create this blame culture that it's not my fault, it's somebody else. And we come through in schooling where the dog ate my homework, and then we get into it in the professional realm.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately we need to be able to look at every situation, and we need to say, there is an accountability that I have.
Yeah.
And I must accept, even if I have the smallest inclination towards the situation that happened, and it could be that I didn't train my staff well enough.
Absolutely.
I go into a lot of businesses where they're in crisis, where they need to rejig their corporate culture, and I can't tell you how many times I've had a manager say, it's not my fault. We've talked to the cooks many times, and they're not cooking to spec.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's a great blame game, but what are you doing about it?
Absolutely.
Right?
Totally agree.
So I think from a leadership perspective, I think it's really integral that when it comes down to blame, that we look at ourselves first. What is it that we can do different to make sure problems like that never happen again? And how do we alleviate and make sure that we're not playing the blame game with staff?
Well, and I'm even thinking taking it a step further, but not just putting the whole onus on responsibility on leadership, but individual staff, like taking more initiative and realizing, hey, this is how I feel that this could have been avoided in the future. Mm-hmm. Perhaps you're not aware of this extra information, and here I'm going to enlighten you. But it's because people are all kind of like looking after their own little areas, and it's all about protecting themselves. But sometimes I think that you could step up and maybe even help, make leadership easier, make your team, stand up for a coworker,
right?
And not do that. And anyways, on that note, if you didn't like this episode, I'm actually blaming Marc. So,
but it's your camera.
Yeah, that's true. So again, if you like this video, hit the button, smash the bell, leave a comment, throw a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and we'll blame Mark for it, and it's all good.